So, good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome Neeraj Gulati, the co-creator of Entrepreneurship at Scale in Delhi. It's a massive entrepreneurship mission to enable kids and young adults from all backgrounds and limited resources to dream, aim higher, and become entrepreneurs. This entrepreneurship mindset curriculum, referred to as the EMC program, is taken by 750,000 students in high school at all of about 1,000 Delhi government schools every day. This program includes field projects, classroom activities, and live interaction with entrepreneurs. Students learn to take risks, identify opportunities, handle execution challenges, and bounce back from failures. Is my audio okay? I can hear an echo.
You're okay, keep going.
Okay, all right. So EMC is India's largest ever mission to nurture grassroots level entrepreneurship. Neeraj is himself an entrepreneur and a technology business leader based in Gurgaon, India, and Cupertino, California. He was an early stage member of Silicon Valley startup, which was acquired by Sienna. He owns 13 US patents and was the co-creator with Mr. Sam Petroda, whom you all heard earlier in the day, of Tor for Jod, a children's innovation program. Neeraj will share some amazing entrepreneurship stories and conclude with a call to action for all of us who want to join this movement. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Neeraj Gulati.
Hi, good morning, good evening, everyone. Let me just get my screen right. Is my screen okay?
It's great. Go ahead, please.
All right. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ishita, for a wonderful introduction. Very quickly, I will give you a bit of a run through of what we are doing in Delhi. It's baby steps, but a lot to be done. And there's a lot of talent out there in the diaspora that we can tap. Essentially, this is my story to begin with. My parents are refugees from what is now Pakistan. So destitutes overnight. A lot of us in this group must have been through that situation. But one gift that they got was this free public education, right? This one gift that they got from their new homeland that have transformed their lives. And they got educated themselves. They got us educated, me and my sibling. And after that, we never looked back. So this left quite an impression on all of us. My mom always reminds us that, hey, you know what, you gotta pay back. You gotta pay this debt back sometime. And so it took us a few years, but that journey is going on. So after this whole experience, I've been looking for a sense of purpose. So what is my purpose in life, and what should I do next? So one startup, one nice exit, and you kind of think that you're on a roll, you might want to do more. But I decided to step back and look at the market. So I did some market research. And the market research basically was on my homeland. And, although there are a lot of great things happening in India back in 2005, this was the year, but there were a lot of challenges as well, right? So I won't depress you guys with all these data. But, to me, this is not just challenges, this is opportunity. The Thames River was extremely polluted in the early 20th century. And, people found the opportunity. It's one of the cleanest rivers flowing through a city today. So anything that is broken can be fixed. And that's what entrepreneurs always dream about. So whether it's, the hunger index, whether it's being on the health index really low, the water crisis, there's a massive water crisis coming to all of North India. We are places where there was water at 100 feet below ground is at 500 feet now. So it's a ticking time bomb. So there's lots of these ticking time bombs, and that's where I could see, there's some opportunity. So I decided to address these situations by looking at the younger population. So that was my sort of addressable market at that point in 2008, 2009 timeframe. And 50% of India, as you know, is a demographic dividend. They're under 23 years of age. Interestingly, 65% of India studies in government schools. family per capita family income of less than $150 to $200 a month in a city like Delhi. And 60% of Delhi's kids are in government schools. So this figure is like 90% in the US. So this was an interesting market for me because these are people who are malleable. You figure that if you want to solve some of these problems, you might want to start with these, green shoots out there in the school system. Just interestingly for me, I live in the Delhi area. So, Delhi has more kids in government schools than Sweden plus Finland plus Denmark combined. So statistically, I should see Olympians, I should see the Nokias and the Volvos and, the whole, in every field, whether it's the performing arts or it's technology, statistically, you should see the world-class players coming out of these institutions in the government system. But that was not the case. So initially, I started focusing on the younger population, and I got into my first adventure. It's nice to have a venture where you have some adventure. For me, it was all volunteering. So everything I talk about here on was volunteering because I figured volunteering was quite the nirvana. You don't have those, some of the pressures and some of the, tugs that you feel when you have somebody's capital in your system. You have somebody on your board who wants to turn around and sell something off, and it gives you tremendous freedom to fly. So
Neeraj, can I quickly interrupt? Your presentation is PPT is not in a presentation mode. You could put that in the presentation mode. That would be great.
Is this better?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I started out with Salam Balak Trust. My first adventure was that, hey, let's get into philanthropy. And, initially my inclination was, check writing philanthropy, because that is the easiest thing to do. I can sip my wine in Goa and have my money work for a child in Delhi. So I got with that. So that slowly transformed into more active work. But I quickly realized that the tail cannot wag the dog. So philanthropy in India is 70,000 crores, and the budget of Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation is also 70,000 crores. So, the tail can never wag the dog. If a municipal school system is broken, no philanthropy has the scale to ever fix it. So that was my first learning. So then I shifted towards the government side and say, hey, let's get the systemic change through government. So I did Tor for Jor with the guidance of Sam. Met him in Chicago for the first time in 2010. This was an amazing journey. We prototyped Tor for Jor in many schools around the country. But unfortunately, there was so much inertia in the education system that we could not get this into our system. And if one of you wants to know what those inertia is all about, I'll give you my email ID at the end, and we can sit down and talk about that. So we are hemorrhaging. We are a first-class country governed by third-class people, and that has to change. I'm being very blunt and clear here, because first-class people run by first-class leadership creates wonderful companies. And similarly, first-class people have to be governed by first-class people to run a wonderful country. It's very simple. So then this India Against Corruption movement happened, and we were on the forefront, my wife and I, including our little middle school child. And this was a great opportunity for us to see a transformation. And through that, we decided, just like my startup journey in the US, we could create a speedboat, right? There are monopolies out there, and you can create a speedboat which has no inertia and baggage, and you can create a 21st century sort of an outfit that can drive change. So that's where the Delhi government was formed. And based on that whole journey, we had one dream. So in Tor for Jor, my dream was a nation of creators and not just consumers. But it had transformed over the years, and now we wanted a nation of job creators and not just job seekers. So to me, that is my definition of nationalism. My nationalism doesn't start and stop at the borders of the country. It doesn't start and stop at a cricket match. My nationalism in day-to-day, red light, pe rukna hai ki nahi rukna hai. How do you transform your nation? So that is where Entrepreneurship at Scale was born. So first thing first, when you went into a Delhi government school in 2015, you could smell human waste from 50, 100 meters away. The idea was to first fix the schools. So 25% of the budget in Delhi was spent on education, double the number of classrooms, teacher training in all these different institutions across IIMs, Finland. So this is fixing the substrate, if you will. And on the remedial side, a lot of kids coming into government schools from the municipal schools could not read. 6th grade kids could not read at the 3rd grade level. So there was a lot of innovation, a lot of creativity done to fix that during summer programs. so that kids don't get left behind. And then the curriculum came into the focus. Like once you get the infrastructure and the basics right, then you say, hey, what do I do with the curriculum? So two major initiatives were happiness curriculum for grade 6 to 8, and then 9 to 12 happiness was the entrepreneurship curriculum, which I'll focus on now. So just the fixing of the substrate, just some evidence here, right? 700% increase in admissions to IITs, performance better than private schools. And, almost this year, this is very new. Part of it is COVID, and part of it is just that, why do you pay for a school when the results of the government school are better than your private school? So 1.6 lakh children moved this year from a private to a government school in Delhi, which was unheard of in any other part of the country. So let's focus on the EMC. So the idea of the EMC is to attack three different problems. All right. One is employability. You all know how employability is a huge challenge. Like 80% of engineers in India are unemployable is one statistic. I don't know how scientifically accurate it is, but that's what floats around here. When I used to hire in the US, I would interview 15 people and hire somebody. That was my average. In India, that is upwards of 80. So 80 people interviewed and you hire one person. And, let me tell you straight, I do make compromises even in that 80 to 1. So employability is a huge problem. The other one is livelihood responsibilities. A lot of the children, a lot of people here just seek jobs after their. So if there is a government job for a sweeper, PhDs are applying. So people are not taking ownership of their livelihood. They're sort of saying, "Merko to sarkar naukri de de, so I will do my job." And the third one is, of course, we have a massive employment crisis in India, where the demographic dividend could turn into a nightmare if you don't create jobs enough. And those are not going to come to the government sector. They're not going to be enhanced because of automation, and lots of other things are headwinds to that whole situation. So the focus of the EMC really was, how do you get sort of kids to dream bigger? How do you get them to try new and challenging things? Right? A lot of these attributes, which is ingrained in many of you are entrepreneurs here. It comes very naturally to you, or you built it over the years. But for a child coming from a rickshaw puller's family or a Dhobi's family, these are, they are risk averse. They have never been through some of these situations, and they have no coaches in their life, right? They're uncoached kids who don't have, they are first time. Most of them are first time school goers as well. So to me, one of my favorites really is bouncing back from failures, because failure averseness is also very big here. There is no social security net. When you see abject poverty around you, you're really scared. It scares the heck out of you that what if I fall into that trap and then I can never come out of it? Even the healthcare system can put you into a debt trap for a long, long time. So the local situation here is very different. But the question was, how do you help build these core abilities? And obviously there are other foundational abilities like communication, critical thinking, and this all these different managing fears is another big one. How do you build these things? But you don't do it using a textbook, using definitions and using exams and more exams, right? That has been our traditional rote learning model. So we had to think fresh. And this is not just my work. I'm representing the work of many wonderful people like Udyam, Mikin Maheshwari, Tarak Goradia, IIT Bombay graduate who has given the last 5 years to this project. So I'm representing, standing on the shoulders of many amazing people as I talk about this. But in terms of inculcating the entrepreneurship mindset, the core of the curriculum, guys, are these three elements. It is fully experiential, right? It is not about definitions. It's not about mugging up definitions of or things for exams. In fact, there are no exams. So this is an ungraded class. It's got a rubric, but it doesn't have a testing system. There is no textbook either. There is a guide for the teacher, whom we call a facilitator. There are no teachers in this course. And those guides are full of reflection points, opportunities, and inspiration. So we have curated about 50 stories of entrepreneurs who were standing exactly where my school children are standing today, maybe 5, 6, 20 years ago. So you can see in line of sight, you can see that you can be what those guys have become, and it's not an unsurmountable task. One of the things we realized in the early days of empathy, right, with our customer base was that they don't have that dream. So if a child plays wonderful cricket in a government school, they aspire to be within Sehwag, because Sehwag came from the same bylanes of Delhi. But when you talk about business, they say, nahi, hum log koi Ambani, Adani, hum log koi Birla, Tata Birla nahi hai. So they had no line of sight to these wonderful entrepreneurs who had come from their own sort of situations a few years ago. So we curated those stories, and the classroom has two elements. There's inside the classroom, and then the classroom shifts outside to the community as well. And I'll talk more about that. Before that, how did we execute? So basically, we built an EMC core team, about 50. Everything in Delhi is about wonderful people within the government, and then amazing people outside the government, NGOs, good individuals who are looking for a sense of purpose. Coming back to the theme of this conference, purposeful innovation. And they trained 200 mentor teachers. Those teachers went out and trained 18,500 teachers across 1,000 schools in Delhi. So this curriculum is taken by 750,000 children, as Ishita said. These are across 9 to 12th grade. And it's a daily class. It's not a hobby class. It's a daily class. And it's become one of the favorite classes of the students, by the way. So inside the classroom, there is thematic units. So each thematic unit also has an element of inspiration, a story of an entrepreneur who may have gone through that particular theme of falling again and again and rising, for example, or collaboration having turned their lives around. So various thematic stories, and you have activities around that. So it's not about sitting down. It's about moving in the classroom. It's about reconfiguring the classroom, working in smaller groups, for example. So it's very exciting. Kids love that, kinesthetic part of it. And there's a ton of reflection. And in the reflection, the teacher takes the role of a facilitator, and the reflection is within the students, amongst the students. On Saturdays, there is student-led debates and called Jaldi debates. So we picked up a lot of concepts from Toastmasters, for example, because communication confidence was very low in these children, and they love it. And being judged by your own peers, getting feedback, learning to give feedback is very hard for many people. And this kind of builds all those different skills of teamwork and community. And every 3 to 4 weeks, we bring a real entrepreneur into the classroom. So COVID kind of played spoil sport with that, and we turned it into digital, and wonderful people like Sanjeev Dikchandani and Anshu Gupta from Gunj, and lots of wonderful people have gone through the system and talked to these children. But idea is to be in a classroom, be in a small setting where kids can truly interact and be one with the entrepreneur, ask them all the curious questions that kids always have. Outside the classroom is very exciting. There are field projects. Okay. So what we have done is, for the very first time in our country, we have given 2,000 rupees to every 11th and 12th grader as venture capital. It's a seed capital. And, and we've told the kids, use that money. If you make money out of it, return it. If you lose it, that's all right. But so many children are coming together in smaller groups and creating wonderful new ventures. And I'll talk to that a little bit about that in a bit. Then there is another exciting thing of taking charge of your own lives, right? So there is one thing to give a catalog of careers to children and read about it. There's another way of learning is to go out in the community and interview people doing different things. Going into a digital marketing agency and saying, hey, what the heck do you guys do all day? How do you get business? How do you deliver value, right? Going into a manufacturing unit, going into a services center and saying, how does the KPO work? What do you guys do? And, that curiosity builds that awareness about various options. It's not just lawyers, doctors, and engineers. There's a whole lot of other stuff going on out there. We are also building a very exciting AI-driven app for children to discover these different professions and explore them, listen to the people who are operating in those businesses, even connect with them and talk to them, and perhaps visit them, facilitated by the government. And then we also did boot camps during the summer for children who were very excited to just get acceleration onto their entrepreneurship mindset. So early signs of impact, we did a study with BCG after, I think, the first 11 or 12 months of this program. And, it's a bell curve. I would not say that all the 1,000 schools are doing great. Some schools are really struggling. Some schools are in the middle and others are really accelerating. It also depends on the leadership of the school as to how driven they are about this topic. But overall, I think the results are moving in the right direction in terms of children getting to make more informed choices about careers, feeling more empowered and confident, and, and being more inquisitive. So these are our core some of our core metrics that we are measuring with BCG. So there's a lot happening with the children. That is where our focus is. So this is Nisha Yadav. Her dad runs a small phone repair center in hole in the wall in Delhi. And when COVID hit, everything was shut down. She was in 10th grade back then. And she talked to her dad and said, hey, so we are moving towards starvation. We are getting some $5,000 from the government, but that won't sustain the family too long. So she decided to turn her dad's business into an online business. And she had never written a line of code before. She had never done any of that stuff before. And it is a fascinating story to see how she started from there, self-taught, collaborated with people, and turned her dad's business online and started getting business through the online storefronts. There is another story of another child who, because children were now in small apartments or small rooms with grandkids and younger siblings, and it was very noisy, this other child came to us and said, hey, I want to build low-cost noise-canceling headphones. So we initially thought, this is a luxury item, but the guy said, it's so noisy, I need peace and quiet to do my studies. And he said, I think there is a large addressable market for it. So these are the kind of ideas that come out that a typical venture capitalist or people like us living in fancy buildings can't come up with because we are not living that life. So at scale, basically, we are doing a bunch of other things. Besides the 750,000 children taking the class, we have created this thing called Business Blasters. So this is the seed fund that we talked about, has been rolled into something called Business Blasters, where we're trying to align a mentor to every team of entrepreneurs. It's a huge task. We have 50,000 teams. And how do you get 50,000 mentors? So it's an amazing task. In fact, I was yesterday in a school looking at ideas that children are coming up with, small teams of 3s and 4s, and it's unbelievable what's going on in the classrooms today. So these 50,000 teams are going to present their ideas in the school. 1 out of 5 are going to be coming to a large stadium and presenting their ideas to a Shark Tank kind of thing. And you can imagine that hierarchy. And at the end, there are 50 to 100 teams that will make it to the finals. And we are going to give them direct admission to DTU, which is a Delhi Technology University called, used to be called DCE. They're going to go straight into those colleges, the winning teams. So we are creating a nice sort of magnetic force towards people to participate. The other thing that we have done is created this Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University. So this university came alive 6 months ago, very much on the lines of the models of Germany, Brazil, and Singapore, to align skills to industry need. And very closely aligned to that. So for example, there used to be a regular BCom before. Now we are giving a BCom in business process management, for example. So that when kids come out, it's designed together with the BPM companies out there. And when the kids come out, even have internships and they come out, they're pretty much guaranteed to have a job. So this is our attack on the employability situation that the country is facing. And this is a pilot for us. If it works well, this is a model that we would like to spread across the country. And the other one is Desh Ke Mentor. So in terms of exploring careers, having coaches with you, these kids are first-time school goers, so their parents can't be there, the guiding light in many cases. So we are creating this pool of mentors across the country, even globally. So you guys can also sign up. Below 35 years of age, you can align with the children and help them through their career discussion process, some of the challenges they face in their early lives, and help them get to there. So just hold the hand of one of your less privileged countrymen. So these are 3 at scale things which are really taking off. Business Blasters is going to be big in the next few months. It's got a lot of promise to wonderful new ventures. And once a few kids create a few good ventures, whether it's non-profit or for-profit, it'll inspire the ones in the 4th and the 5th grade today to come back and do that as well. It's the Sehwag, creating the Sehwags of entrepreneurship, if you will. So there's a lot of, these are things operated by entrepreneurs for creating entrepreneurs. So these are these people in our mix. So for purposeful innovation, Gopal is a wonderful mentor to our children, and he himself is a purposeful innovator. I met him 5 years ago, and I said he's from a premier engineering institute, and he said, Neeraj, my only dream is to deliver government services to people's homes and offices. If pizza can get there, why can't government services? Why do people have to go to government offices? And E-governance in India is a failure because all you do is submit documents using a hard user experience on the website, and then you still have to go to government offices. And the moment you go there, there is rent seeking and all that other stuff that begins. So this is privately managed through a partner. You decide when they come to your home. Verizon tells you what time they will come to your home in the US, but here the government asks you what is comfortable for you. They come to your home and they deliver these services. Around 140 services now, all Gopal's work. So one person can make such a big change. So recently we have locked the RTO in Delhi. The transport office in Delhi is locked. All the services are home delivered. No need to have these big honking offices with a lot of touts hanging around. Another purposeful innovator is Ankit. His dream is to restore actually 600 lakes around Delhi. So he studied the landscape of Delhi from years gone by, and that's what he's doing. So this is the first lake that Ankit restored. It used to be a cesspool of garbage, and this is what the aerial view of it looks like today. It's very close to the Delhi airport. If any of you is visiting, I'll give you the coordinates. Go check it out. And it's a zero carbon footprint lake because the water coming is a wastewater of the community that gets processed by a biodegradable. So the thing on the bottom of the screen is underground biodegradable system, and you see solar panels on the right of there's only one motor in the place, and that's run by these solar panels. So it's a zero carbon footprint biodigester micro sewage treatment plant and a beautiful lake, and people hang out there. Now they have put gym equipment around it. So it's a community hotspot as well now. So this is Dwarka. There was this one patch of land that they started to target towards the lake in February of this year. And by June of this year, this is what it looks like. Again, a few handful of people, just purposeful innovators, volunteering to make a difference. And our kids are getting inspired, but this is what drives the entrepreneurship at scale in the school system, because people say, oh, this can happen. I can also do it. You don't have to just create businesses. You can do stuff like this, which is changing your city forever. So in terms of people who participate, obviously every government has in the US or in India has ministers and government officers. What I'm really calling your attention to are the three on the right below. So change maker fellows. So we hire premier school children, youngsters from 23 to 25, 28, who come in and transform each of our government departments. And they are the fire behind a lot of this change that I'm talking about. Even in the entrepreneurship curriculum, we have about 5 or 6 of these CM fellows, and they drive a lot of innovation, a lot of change. Constantly riding on the shoulders of NGOs like Pratham and Dream a Dream. I can name 100 of them which are constantly collaborating with us. NGOs in India are crucibles of innovation. They cannot scale, but they are crucibles of wonderful innovation that can be scaled using the government system. Last but not the least is where we all belong. These are expert, passionate, problem solvers. After you've done solving business problems and the marginal value of the next $10 million isn't that huge for you, this might be the place to park your mind at, right? And this is one I want to invite you to, because we need a lot of these folks. India is in a transformation stage, and there are amazing problems to be solved. So here's my email ID. Please feel free to. It's a special email ID I've created for this event. So feel free to reach out to me. I will make sure that within a 72-hour period, I come back to you. That is my SLA to you. All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you so much, Neeraj. We have just about 2 minutes or so. And I have probably we can take one question. So how can we help these kids either while they're in high school or once they graduate, complete their undergrad, launch startups that can get funded by traditional venture firms and go on to become billion-dollar businesses?
Right.
How can we, the US community, or even your organization there, help with that?
Yeah, so both from the two volunteering pathways, one is the Desh Ke Mentor, and the other one is the Business Blasters, are vehicles built for this purpose, very purpose, right? So what we'll do, Ishita, is after the event, maybe if there's a possibility, we can send a couple of links to the community who's in attendance today. And again, my email ID is also there. So we are waiting to hear from you. There is tremendous opportunity, and we need thousands of wonderful entrepreneurs to groom these young people. One thing I will tell you is that many of the venture capitalists, friends of mine, are their mouths are watering because these kids will be frugal innovators, right? They are not Herman Miller, Daikin or Train air conditioning kind of luxury. They will get your dollar go much farther than a regular entrepreneur does as well. So my wife has also committed without equity a certain amount of funds to these children because we believe in them. So yes, we will share the pathway.
Awesome, wonderful. So thank you so much, Neeraj.